Oh man, it's quicker than I'm ready for. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Man and Machine here with the PeakBot team and Mark Phillips from Harvested Financial, episode 107. Gentlemen, how are we doing this morning?
Doing pretty good. A lot of work getting done over the weekend. That's what happens when there's no football and no baseball. A lot of work gets done on the weekends.
Totally. How was your
you have
weekend?
any Oscar watching though, at least?
I watched, I have it recorded. I couldn't get through all that live, truthfully, so I have it recorded. Conan monologue, I have that ready for lunch. I'm very excited. Was it good?
I didn't watch any of it.
Oh, you made it sound like you made it sound like we were missing out.
The way you said it, Mark, I thought this was like the event that you waited to watch all year.
I that was deceptive, wasn't it? That's not totally true. I watched maybe a couple minutes and then I fell asleep.
As we're talking about this, by the way, I got an email. Conan crushed his opening monologue. Literally just like some, I guess it's a Barstool email. But anyway, happy Monday. Got a lot to cover here in today's show. We'll take a quick look at PeakBot picks from last week. But really, we want to get into stocks in real life. I got a great stock for us today. A lot of real life experience for the whole world on this stock over the last 5 years. And we're going to learn a little something. We're going to bring it back to our roots a little bit today and really dive into some great stuff. So hang tight and probably take a look at some economic events, do a little SPY analysis, etc. So I'm battling what I think is the beginning of a little bit of a cold. So if I have to go off camera and blow my nose, I will do that, but I will give a proper heads up. But anyway, let's get into it, guys. What do we think?
Cool. Well, do we want to
start?
By the way,
I think we need music. Ben, we started playing music on the Friday show just a little bit in the background, and without it now, I feel a little weird.
You got it going? You got it. You want to pull up the results for the PeakBot picks?
Let's do it. So, sharing my screen here. This is our tracker. We have yet to make like a nice, not that this isn't nice, but we haven't made like a one page, like who's winning, who's not. So we're going to take a look at my trades from week 2 in the contest here. Okay. Good news. 3 for 3, one Very Walmart nice. Trade successful after a terrible one through earnings the week before. I'll never forget it. Ben will never let me forget it. And then I had 2 trend spread trades, Disney and Bank of America. So Disney was a put spread. Bank of America was an iron condor on trend spread from Friday to Friday. Here was the premium I had earned. Okay. And I actually manually stopped out of all 3 of these trades, as we can see here. But 3 wins, only paid back a little bit in premium here for each trade. So I was very happy about that. On the week, 3 for 3 on the picks, made $85 overall. Again, I gave just a little bit of premium back, and I had risked $650. So PeakBot picks, good week for me. I needed a recovery after week 1 there. And also in the account, I made 2 other iron condor trades on the Qs on Monday and Tuesday, both profitable for me. So good week. I made about 1% in my account last week. Ben, I'll shift over to yours here. You can talk through them, or
that sounds good. So my week 2 picks were Google, ALB, and SLV. I won on Google, ALB. Both were early exits. Both took profit. I think it was on a Monday and a Wednesday, I want to say. Actually, go back. I did record. Okay, so it was Monday and a Tuesday, the date that they closed. So the trend spread bot did take profit for me. I collected $69 in profit from those 2 trades, which were wiped out by the $69 loss perfectly in SLV. However, I turned that SLV trend spread trade into a wheel trade. Now, I wasn't collecting much premium right off the jump. I'm pretty happy with what I've seen on the SLV chart, and I'm pretty happy to hold SLV. It's just reflective of the price of silver. So I'm happy to hold that and turn that into a wheel stock. And in fact, I don't even know. It's going to depend on where we open at this morning. I don't even know where I'm going to sell my covered call out. I'm going to handle this position manually. I might just hold it, honestly, because if that price gets back up to 29, I'll have made my $8 premium. But even more so, I'm excited to hold it and see SLV gain some value there. Maybe pick up a few more bucks. It's only taking up $2,900 of my capital, so I'm happy to do that.
Can I jump in here and say I love that trade? That like not necessarily because it's silver or whatever, but I love that setup about the way you're thinking about taking that position, right? That you're kind of thinking 2 steps ahead there. That you're saying I'm willing to sell credit spreads on silver because if I win, I win. And if I don't, I have a second opportunity here to hold this for a long term, turn that into a covered call trade, turn that into a wheel trade, like you said. So I think that's an amazing way to both pick your names and to think about your trade setups overall, is that you want to be thinking a step or 2 ahead. What do I do if this drops, if it rallies? What are my different outs here? So I just love that setup.
I couldn't agree more. And Ben, I think you did this live on Friday on our show. I think you kind of made the decision like, okay, it didn't go well. Let's not just be losers here. Let's get back in it. And on silver, why not, right? I mean, we can be long-term on that.
Yeah, it actually made me think, kind of taking the same approach with ETFs, right? Because ETFs, I guess they could be a little more volatile. ETFs don't typically get blown out by earnings, right? And I mean, it could be that the entire grouping of stocks has bad earnings or really good earnings, and then you go really far in one direction. However, selling credit spreads on ETFs with knowing that I'm okay to convert that into a wheel position, I think I'm probably going to do more of that. Just because I feel generally safer doing that on ETFs or even like commodities like silver, gold. So I'll probably be doing more of that.
Very cool. So Ben, on the competition, on the week, 2 for 3, net break even for you on the 3, as we saw. Earned 113 premium, put 1,100 out there for those trades. How'd you do overall on the week outside of the contest? I know you had a couple other things going. We talked about it a bit on Friday.
Yeah, so that was flat. Condors were flat. It was, unfortunately, I hate to say it, the max bot that took down my portfolio.
Okay. Hey, happens. Been talking about that strategy a lot, working on it, new market conditions, etc. But okay, fully transparent here. Thank you for the info. We'll take a quick look at Thomas's if it's updated. Yeah, it's updated. I didn't put in if they're wins or not. I believe he also went 2 for 3 last week. He had 3 trend spread selections: Procter & Gamble, Condor.
Dillon, you want to share your screen?
I do. Yeah, it's just the data's in there. It's just I don't know if you won or lost. Well, it's not even that. It's just it's incomplete. Thomas, if you're watching, come on, man. These aren't open trades. All right. So trend spread, Procter & Gamble. He was trying. We could check it right now, but I think we got better things to do. Yeah. Iron Condor. He had a call credit spread on UPS and a put credit spread on McDonald's. I remember looking at him on Friday. I think he finished 2 for 3. So that is PeakBot picks. Stay tuned. Again, these are real trades being taken by each of us in our automated accounts with PeakBot. Let's get into, by the way, on the bottom of the screen, just need to mention it. If you're interested in why we're here on this show or why we're partners with Mark and Harvested, professionally managed portfolios. Mark is utilizing PeakBot strategies, existing and working on some really fun new strategies, which, I know we tease a lot, but really starting to see them come to fruition here. So if you want to get in the automated options game, but you don't really want to be handling it yourself, A, don't blame you. B, go to peakbot.com/harvested and sign up. We got a lot of information there, and you can get in touch with Mark and walk you through anything you need. So sorry for the shameless plug, but that's what we're here for. Let's talk about stocks in real life.
Let's do it. We've got, I'm not going to call it controversial, but for the work at home, what's the WAH, is that right? Work or WFH?
WFH?
Yeah. Work from home versus return to office. Zoom is obviously a big part of that. And then for the work from homers, is it Zoom? Is it Teams? Is it Google Meet? What do you guys, how do you guys feel about Zoom?
Mark, you go first, man.
I think I'm generally biased to the Google Meet. I think that's a little more of a seamless integration, I guess. Feels a little faster to send links. I think my biggest pet peeve with Zoom is when it makes you download an update right as you're getting into a meeting. So it's 2:59, you're on time for your 3 o'clock, and you get downloading news or updating software, whatever it says. And then you're late to your meeting because Zoom decides to integrate that update at the start of the meeting instead of perhaps when you close the application.
Yeah, dude. I've had that problem way too many times to where now, even if I have Zoom downloaded on the computer, which of course I'm sure I do, I never look at it or hope to open it. I have to just join from browser now. I'm not dealing with the Zoom app. I will join from browser. It will be clunky. I will come in, camera off, mic off, even if I have my settings opposite. Like, I always have to come off Zoom or come off mute when I get into those meetings. Yeah, I don't like Zoom. But I'll tell you what, people give us a lot of slack. See what I did there? For Google Meet. People hate Google Meet. I think it's unfair. And this isn't a Google Meet section or series of this show. We're not going to talk too much about it. But, I mean, Ben, we're a Google family here. I mean, what are we?
Yeah, for sure.
Were you always Zoom prior? I mean, like, were you always Meet, or
So,
did you have a day?
In my prior employment, we were a Google family.
Okay. Yeah.
And then one day that was just torn away from us, and we were forced to switch over to Microsoft Teams, which I would rank as the lowest of these three options.
Totally agree.
It must have been a price thing to have us switch from Google to Teams, but it was such an unpleasant experience, and there was so much resistance to move away from Google Meet that when we went full time in PeakBot, we decided there was just no other option than to do Google Meet.
Yeah, let's not mess around.
Yeah.
I think we have to pull up the stock chart for this section, but there are very few names that like roared into the zeitgeist and then just absolutely collapsed, right? Like,
yeah,
spring of 2020, like everything was Zoom. We were doing happy hours on Zoom. You were calling your long lost cousins on Zoom. Like everything was going to be Zoom in the future. And as the stock price reflects, not everything was Zoom in the future. Pretty quickly, not.
Yeah, I mean, look at the rise here. Okay, so, and Ben, I know you have it up on your screen. If you'd rather there, just tell me. That's no problem.
I just got very confused because I was scrolling on my screen and I didn't see it working on this screen.
Sorry.
That explains it.
All right, I'm going to give you a control here in just a second. But so they launched IPO, looks like April in 2019. Okay, trading right around $90-100. Okay, I want to know exactly. Here's COVID, right? What'd you guys say about right here, end of February? As we can see, the volume spikes tremendously. And boy, okay, so like from $70 all the way up to we touched almost $600 here in the span of 6 months.
Yeah, quick 8x.
Yeah, quick 8x in half a year. Okay, so, and then obviously we've seen it return back to what I guess we'll call normal levels, right around this $75 price point. Mark, tell us more about your thoughts on this. I need to know.
I mean, it's a wild name to trade. I wasn't trading it actively like during that peak, but like this is like 3 different stocks right here that we're looking at. You had the sort of the pre-COVID, the COVID, and now the post-COVID. And if you look at it over the last 2 years, I mean, it's barely budged. I mean, it looks like a utility practically, which in some ways it is.
You're not kidding. This is crazy. The
not a bad ticker to sell options on, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what the return. I don't think I've been trading Zoom at all, but it looks like we've been in a range from like this $56 level all the way up to 80, call it a $30 range, but mainly staying within like this, I'll call it $15 range for the most part. Had a slight break above that line recently, but now we're dipping back below into the 75 and below level. Yeah, really, really interesting. Really interesting to see where things will go. But yeah, this was bananas.
So, and I could be reading this wrong. It looks like they reported earnings just last week or the week prior on the 24th of February. Outdid their estimations, but had this huge drop there, Ben, as you can see, like that last big drop off. That's earnings, although their earnings, I guess, came out above where expected. I forget if the market, that might have been the day where the market completely fell out as well, but trying to find a new range here. So, yeah, I mean, what do we think about this? Mark, does this come into the portfolio ever?
I've not been an active trader of Zoom, and so I actually, I'll show my screen here in just a second. Sure. But I was just pulling up the vol and like some of the historicals on this. It is funny that you mentioned the earnings because this feels like an earnings trader, right? If we look at these peaks, what's happening here about every 3 months? That this is the green line is that 30-day at the money vol. So we're getting a ton of interest around earnings. And then it settles down, and then more interest around earnings, and then it settles down. And kind of interesting too, the other aspect that I'm looking at here is the red line or the red bars are the VRP, so the difference between realized volatility and implied volatility. So how much are options over or underpriced? Pretty healthy numbers up until last summer, and then it's kind of flipped the other way. So it really feels like a paradigm shift here in the name where vol was relatively overpriced, and then now that's not been the case. So we've seen, you were showing in the chart, we've seen a little bit more movement, a little bit more chop in the name. To be honest, that makes me a little bit nervous to be a seller. But then I look at the chart and I'm not seeing much price action, so I don't know if I want to be a buyer either. Maybe this is a well-managed condor type position.
That's what it's doing on the trend spread watch list right now. I mean, data from Friday, we'll get new data this morning when the market opens. But right now, trading closed at 7304 or something in the neighborhood of that. It has it set up, trend spread has it set up for a weekly condor. If we were to enter today, expire Friday, it would be a $3 spread. Sold put at 71, sold call at 75. So $3 spreads, or at least that's the max you'd be risking on that. So Ben, I've traded it. I've had Zoom on trend spread. I can't recall my success or failures with it off the top of my head, but looking at it here, I'll just pull this up for 1 second. Here it is on the watch list. Again, new data will be coming in this morning, but neutral, moderate risk compared to other stocks on the watch list. This is a crazy high EV here. Expected value over 8 is pretty high. Right in the middle range, we see win rates here between 70% and 80%, we'll call it. Great ROI. I mean, it's paying $72 in premium for what would be a 4-day contract right now on a condor. And it's a $3 spread. So max risk would be 228, earning 72. Again, trying to stay above 71, below 75. Does anybody still have the chart up? I can pull it back up.
I've got the chart up.
Yeah, let's see. 71 and 75 would be where we're trying to stay. At least
71 being down here, 75 being right around here. So yeah. I don't feel great about that range for this week.
Not after this big drop. That seems a little undefined to me. But
so that was earnings on Thursday, it looks like.
Oh, okay. Yep. Just spilled a little coffee on myself here. So what else do we have to say about Zoom here? I mean, actually, I'm curious to know what analyst ratings are on this stock over the year. I'm going to look at that on TradingView quickly.
I got it.
Okay, cool. Wow, more upward growth than I was expecting to see, at least on that chart there.
38 analysts, a bunch are saying buy, 13 saying strong buy, actually 23 saying hold.
Huh.
Nobody really saying sell except for Michael Burry out here.
Is that actually Michael Burry with that strong sell?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just assuming he's the one guy that's saying sell, sell, sell. But yeah, the projections over the next year look pretty solid.
Yeah.
Does Zoom do anything other than Zoom calls?
Let me ask Google that. Seriously. What else does Zoom do?
And you know what? It's kind of interesting for a relatively new name, how quickly they entered the, there's a word for it, but I forget, it's on the tip of my tongue, but it's like Band-Aid, Kleenex, where the brand name is the common usage term.
Yeah.
That,
it's a word you don't want, right? Because then it like nullifies any sort of trademarks that you have on it.
Oh, interesting. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so.
Once you've reached that like point where you're like you Google something or you put a Band-Aid on, yeah, all of a Coke,
like a Q-tip. It's really a cotton swab.
Right, Q-tip's another good one.
I don't think they do anything, by the way, and it's just a very quick Google search. Just doesn't do anything. But like normally, no, anything when you say what do they do outside of video calls, it's just showing all of their features for their video calls. It's like screen sharing, chat function, breakout rooms. We know this. Got the breakout room. That was a term that I never settled with me. I hated the breakout room in the height of COVID and all these things and the webinars and go talk to these 12 people. And then we're gonna hit shuffle.
What's the most fun you ever had on a virtual call?
Most fun I ever had. I've had some pretty cool experiences on a Zoom call. I've met Gary Vaynerchuk when I was working with the Jets. I was able to meet him a couple times in real life at some Sweetholder events, which was cool. Really short. Ben, you'd love him. I was able to ask him a question over Zoom. We had him for like 15 minutes for like our suites team at the Jets. And he was like, who wants to ask a question? Nobody was asking a question. But so I just word vomited because I'm like, I need to be the guy who asks a question here, but I have no idea what I'm going to say. I think I ended up getting something pretty good out. And even if it was shitty, Gary would have spun it, and given probably the same exact answer. But that was probably my coolest Zoom experience talking to Gary V. What about you guys?
So I think a feature that any video call would need, and we tried to do this during the pandemic, but we had some friends that we wanted to watch a TV show with. We were in Chicago, they were in Westchester. And so I want a feature where you can both be watching the same TV show and then have like a live session room where you can like chat about it. But it needs to be able to sync up your TV so you can pause it. Someone needs to go get popcorn, whatever. I want to see like a screen share sync with, so you can have like breakout rooms for TV shows.
Let me ask you a quick question. It's a great idea. So there would need to be a universal pause, meaning if one party chooses to pause it, you're going to have to pause for the sync. Mark, would you be in control of the pause, or are you going to hand that off to family or a friend?
I'm okay with someone else being in charge of the pause. It doesn't bother me. I don't need to.
Why can't everybody be in control of the pause?
Well, that would be mayhem. I feel like there's got to be one person running the pause, running the pause there. But anyway.
But trying to sync up, you're literally sitting there. You're like, okay, ready, set, play.
Never works. Never works. Oh man, Ben, any cool Zoom experiences for you? We've been bashing Zoom here a little bit.
It doesn't just have to be Zoom. It could be any virtual.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I will say though, on the syncing move, I think there was, I might be wrong, but I think there was an app on the Oculus where you can virtually sit in a room with somebody and watch the same show with them. Not my style, but I think that might have been available, might still be available. We had a wine tasting over video chat. That was kind of cool. We got shipped out like a bunch of the like airport bottle wines, and then we had a sommelier on the call with us kind of explain everything, and tell us what to drink at what time and what to eat with it. And then we had a bunch of drinks and snacks and stuff. And that was pretty fun.
That's pretty cool. That's a good one.
That was in 2020. So it was during the time of like, yeah, you're not going outside of your home.
Yeah. Very cool. Look, Zoom and video conferencing in general. I mean, Ben, we operate our entire business through this stuff. You know, Ben and I and our whole team, we have people across the globe. You know, Mark over, you know, not far from us. You know, love to meet up for lunch, but like we need to call Mark. We got to talk about something. We're hopping on a video call, and I'm happy that I haven't tricked myself. I don't call it a Zoom call anymore. I would just, regardless of what it was, it was a Zoom call. It was a Zoom call. They did dominate that and still do for the most part. A lot of people still say, do you want to just get on a Zoom? You know, it took on a whole nother meaning, which is impressive when anybody does that. Disruptive for sure.
Cool.
All right.
Let's move on. Great discussion about Zoom. If you missed it, you can rewind it. Let's talk about iron condors. Now, we've got a variety of iron condors that can be traded in the market. PeakBot specifically has 2 iron condor strategies that we're automating right now. One is a 1 DTE iron condor. The other is a 0 DTE end of day iron condor. But Mark, I will let you give the ins and outs of an iron condor, how it works, what are the benefits, what are the risks. Let's get the rundown here.
Before I do that, I do have one vocabulary term to add here. The term we were looking for with the brand name when you jump on a Zoom or let's Zoom this is genericide. As in, like when you genericize something, but you genericide it, that you kill it to the point of by making it a generic and common usage.
Okay.
Genericide, way too close to like genocide. I don't like it. I don't like that word.
Yeah, you got to make a hard R there to be clear about what you're talking about.
I don't like it. But very good fun fact. Let's dive.
And now on to iron condors.
Let's dive into iron condor. And before you start, when we started this live show, for a while. Again, we always talk about condors, August to November. Did very well for us and PeakBot subscribers. We were keeping common condoring on, and there have been some rougher seas as of late. But getting back to it, Mark, talk to us all about the iron condor.
Totally. I'm glad we're doing this one because the iron condor is one of my favorite strategies, and the condor in general is a market approach I think is really interesting. Certainly, like you say, Dillon, better and worse times for it, and that's kind of the key to getting involved. But breaking it down from the beginning, condor is a neutral option strategy where you generally expect the realized volatility to be lower than the implied volatility by the options. And so by neutral, that specifically would be market neutral or delta neutral in the sense that you don't want stocks to go down, you're not bearish. You don't want stocks to go up, you're not bullish. And you're going to be short a bear call spread and short a bull put spread. So you've sold the put spread, you've sold the call spread. You don't want stock to go through your short call, through your short put. You want it to just sit right there, as that is that realized volatility coming in lower than the volatility implied by those options. So it's a 4-legged spread. You can construct it with all calls or all puts. That would just be the traditional quote unquote condor. But the iron is the aspect where we're doing a call spread and a put spread. I typically think this works well in indices. I generally like to trade this in top tier indices, ETFs. Individual names, it works too. It's going to work, like I said, anywhere where realized vol is less than implied vol. But just kind of from personal experience, I find that this works well in indices at the right times. Individual names, you kind of see there's a little bit more idiosyncrasy to those. So I think iron condors are a little harder there. But one of the best features of this is it's a very risk managed spread. So the fact that you're short volatility but with bounds. That by selling that spread, that call spread or put spread, your short options are closer to the money, closer to the current stock price, while those long options are going to protect you in case it really kind of goes haywire, a stock jumps up or down quite a bit. So those long strikes a real good risk protection out there, and they will define exactly what your kind of max loss and also max gain will be on that contract. So the most you can lose in a strategy is going to be the width of the spread. Typically they're the same width, but you can also do some fun stuff. You can do tighter spreads on the put spread side or on the call spread side, to really like tease this structure around. But ultimately your max loss is going to be distance between the spreads minus the premium that you receive. And when implied vol is elevated, these can get pretty expensive too. Shorter term, closer to the money, you often get condors with kind of like 50-50 risk structure where you're collecting almost half the spread and premium. But that of course depends on the implied volatility, time to expiration, kind of all those different things. At the end of the day, limited risk, limited reward. Most you can make is going to be the premium that you collect if you're selling that. And the most, sorry, I should explain that a little bit more. I've been speaking about this mostly from a sell standpoint because I think that's kind of one of the more common ways to use it. But also you could be buying an iron condor too, right? That's a trade that you can look at and say, I think implied vol is cheaper. And so in a short position, that max risk would be, like I said, the difference between strikes minus the credit. And on the flip side, that could be your max gain if you're actually getting long that. So super flexible strategy. You can do it across different time horizons, across different strikes. You can be aggressive close to the money, conservative far out of the money. A lot of fun ways to play with this, and works in a lot of different market environments depending on how you structure it.
So love that overview. Lots of information on the Iron Condor on peakbot.com, and you can automate it in a variety of ways. I got a pop quiz for us right now. Mark, you mentioned buying an iron condor versus selling an iron condor. Do you guys know what the street name is for buying an iron condor? And I'm only bringing this up because I want to make a strategy where we buy a condor just to name the bot this street name.
I don't actually know. It's not, I mean, a condor, you can be long or short. I didn't know there was a specific buy condor.
I'm cheating, trying to look it up, and if there's an answer, you're saying that
it's a Rick, a reverse iron condor. Rick.
A Rick.
I'd love a Rick bot.
Tell me why you'd love a Rick bot. Why? Tell me.
Oh, it's just a great name for a bot.
Oh, okay. Not that you'd prefer to buy a condor over sell a condor. You just want.
Well, I think in certain circumstances, I might want to buy a condor versus sell a condor. For example, the change in political administration has caused a lot of volatility recently, blowing out our condors on either side, where when you're selling those condors and you get blown out, that's a loss for you. If you're buying those condors and you get blown out, that's a win. The downside is, though, for buying condors, I personally would like a tighter range to increase my win rate. However, the tighter I make my range, the worse my loss can get. So I'm conflicted when it comes to Ricks, but if there's a good Rick strategy out there, I'd love to automate it.
All right. Mark, you ever Rick?
This is the first time learning about Ricks. But I think, you bring up a good point, right? That like, you can't always be selling condors. You can't always be short volatility because volatility is not always overpriced. But there are times, whether it's, I think you sort of mentioned the political environment, and I extend that broadly to any time you see the vol regime changing, getting long and being biased towards long condors, I think is a good strategy. That ironically, I tend to find that iron condors on the short side work the best in low vol environments. That I think that's one of the catches of this, is that you see big premium, you're hunting for big premium, you want to sell high vol, when in reality, like, you're better off often, collecting smaller amounts and seeing higher win rates when vol's not moving as much. So as we start to go across regimes, I tend to be biased towards, on the long side of the condor. Whereas when, steady as she goes, it's a good time to be short.
Yeah. And I also, my experience here with the Iron Condor is, I had never traded condors before we automated them with PeakBot. People tend to get hooked on these guys. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. When we're selling them, people are selling them short. Ours specifically, we're doing a 0 DTE or a 1 DTE. When specifically the last administration, right? Like we didn't realize, how well the condors did there for quite a long time, specifically, and we're straddling the 25 delta with our 1DTE condor. People get hooked on these, and we saw people trading nothing but condors, 30 a day, $1 spreads, and just printing money, right, Ben? Doubling it. We say it all the time. People calling us saying, I doubled my account in 18 trading days.
People were getting ready to quit their jobs,
calling
and
us,
just run condors,
saying we're done. You guys cracked the code. We got Meanwhile, Mark's over here behind us like, hey, keep condor on. We're like, oh my God, Mark is agreeing. Like we're all, this is crazy. But let me tell you something. Right. Well, look, December came and December went, and people were humbled a little bit. And we released our new model portfolio, which I'm pulling up on the screen here. And even now we want to make some adjustments to this just after the last few weeks. But notice that the Iron Condor on a $25,000 portfolio. Okay. Now this isn't a bullish market, and you can see risk tolerance low, moderate, or high. But notice that if we're bullish, which generally speaking, if we zoom out, bullish on the market, low risk tolerance, 1% of this portfolio, doing one or two of these trades. And this is not financial advice. We're not financial advisors. This is just how we put it together for ourselves. And we share that. But, 3%, 8%. You'll notice in a bear market, there are times where, you're almost not even wanting to trade it. And in neutral here, obviously, you'll see the condor take a jump up 5%, 8%, 15% with high risk. But, look, it compiles quickly in both directions. When you have a strategy that trades every day and you're only putting out $100, to Mark's example earlier, where it's 50-50. I mean, I think normally, Ben, we got a couple fills over $50 in premium, last week, where you're risking less than you earned, on a $1 spread, which is great, but it piles up quickly, right? So we always like to be cautious. I run like one or two a week. Like for me on Iron Condor this week, I want to see what the watch list looks like as we're getting close to the entry around 12 o'clock. I want to see what the premiums are looking like. If they're too high, I get a little nervous sometimes. I certainly like to avoid them now in the middle of the week. And maybe we should take a look at some economic events and see if there's anything coming on this week that could hinder condors.
Let's do that, and then let's rack, because we got the bell coming up soon. So let me throw this on screen. Call out anything that sticks out to you guys. So today is March 3rd. We've got some manufacturing data come out today, and historically speaking, this manufacturing data has blown out overnight condors. As a result of that, I personally scaled back my condor positions to just one on XSP on Friday. It did pay a crazy premium, and actually, Dillon, I didn't cancel that order, and I wound up filling at 67 cents. But that's only because at the end of day Friday, the market shot up. So my call side is in the money, unfortunately, already. I wasn't paying attention. I should have just canceled that. And then rest of day today, pretty quiet. Nothing slated of note after 11:35 Eastern this morning.
Okay.
And then moving into tomorrow, again, not much going on. So I'm probably going to go full force back into condors today, take advantage of, this seeming lack of news. Although with President Trump, you never know. You never know. Honestly, you never know when he's going to say something. Like last week, there was talks about a 10% tariff on China. On Friday, he met with President of Ukraine, Zelensky, and that kind of devolved into less than productive conversation, it seemed. And that moves the markets. So, you can do all the planning you want, but you just never know. And that goes for anything, not just President Trump, but it goes for anything. You never know what's going to happen. That's always why it's a good idea. Not financial advice from me, but it could come from Mark. Always good to know what your losses will be before you enter into a position, and make sure that you're okay with those losses. That's my philosophy. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and you're right to say that. The market's mayhem lately. Any short-term strategy, man and machine here. Keep an eye on things. What else we got moving into Wednesday?
That's right. So we've got manufacturing today. We got a lot of services data on Wednesday, and yeah, there seems to be a lot of morning action for this coming week. Moving into Thursday, nothing really sticking out to me just yet. And then on Friday, non-farm payrolls have been a factor before. Unemployment rate has been a factor before. Those are both pre-market, 8:30, so an hour before the market opens. And then we got J-Pow speaking on Friday. So no condors for me.
Friday's weird for him, isn't it? Am I wrong?
Occasionally he'll speak on a Friday.
Anything here shaking your boots, Mark, this week from an economic standpoint? Events?
From an economic numbers standpoint, I don't know that there's anything out of the ordinary. We're coming into the tail end of earnings season too, so I don't think we're going to see much on like the individual names basis from that. So it feels like overall pretty slow news week.
You know what is funny, Ben? Pull up your screen one more time. When we used to do this, you would always search just the high news events with like 3 bars of strength there. Notice that after volatile markets and a Michigan report going and ruining everybody's week a couple weeks ago, Ben is no longer filtering for just high impact events. Ben wants to see everything documented on the week.
I want to see it all.
Ben needs to see anything that might be sneaking through now. Just noticed it, right? We would never, ever care about these 1 or 2 bars. Now we need to know every one of them. Awesome. So I know we do have the bell coming here. We want to get everybody on their way. Any closing comments on our stock in real life Zoom, on iron condors, on anything else? Anything you guys want to tease that we're working on? I don't know. Oh boy, what is this?
So this is also something that I look at almost daily now. It's on rollcall.com. This is the presidential public schedule. So it looks like today at 1:30, the president makes an investment announcement.
Oh boy.
Don't know what that's going to be about.
Is this on the official strategic reserve, or is that did that already get announced this weekend?
I'm not sure. It's something that I'm going to have to do some Googling on and figure out what the expectation here is. Or if there's no expectation, then I might just be keeping my condors off today.
Okay. I feel like now looking at this, I feel like if you look at this long enough, you start like wondering what room is this located in and how is that going to anything Mar-a-Lago. I don't think is I don't know. I'm skipping over that. Oh, look at that. Trump International Golf Club. This is funny, dude. This is funny. I don't want to look at this actually. Because I don't want to know how much he's golfing. Huh?
This is more detailed than I expected.
He's golfing. We got his golf schedule. We got his tee time.
He had a 9 a.m. tee time yesterday. He had a 9:10 tee time on Saturday.
This is outrageous. I hope this isn't all accurate, but we know it is probably. Oh, man. Anyway. Wow. Okay. So what is that? Rollcall.com for Donald Trump's public schedule?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Too much. Sometimes just stress me out. You know, I didn't need that today. I don't need more data like that. All right. Mark, anything else from your side, man?
Keep calm and condor on.
Oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go put mine on. Okay.
All right. We should have just ended the show right there. That should have been it.
I know. Well, that's all right.
Boom.
Fantastic show. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Almost 1,000 live viewers here this morning. Best of luck. By the way, okay, we just looked at it. Full week, right? There's no crazy interruptions. Full week of trading. Best of luck to everybody. We will be live again on Friday for the Automation Station. Myself, Thomas, and Ben doing PeakBot picks, reviews, and live selections. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, we'll see you at the peak. Take care.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.